What's up, everybody? My name is Chris. We got a whole bunch of us on the call today. We thought it'd be a cool thing to basically do the cast in two segments. For the first one, I'm gonna try to draw one of the Starcrawler's characters in the Darkest Dungeon style, and then we'll flip it over, and Asa from Juggernaut is gonna try and do a Darkest Dungeon character. In his more rendered style. I just thought it'd be a fun thing to kind of get together and shoot the breeze and kind of talk about both games and field questions.
I like how you installed confidence too by saying "try to do." That's
good. Okay. Oh, all right. Oh, great. I just actually got a fun little message from our security company for our website or something. So someone's hacking our site as we stream.
We've made it.
Sweet. We've made it. We're hack worthy. Awesome. Okay, so yeah, I guess without further ado, I guess we should introduce ourselves, right?
Yes.
I'm totally not pro at casting, so yeah, from Vancouver there's me, Chris, and Tyler and Keir.
Greetings, everyone.
Hello, I am Keir.
That's probably a better way to do it, yeah.
Stop hogging all the airwaves, Keir.
Hey, we split many airwaves, Tyler. We have a history of that.
So from Starcrawler from Juggernaut Games, I'm Asa, and we have George.
I am George.
And Jason.
I am Jason.
Oh, maybe we should actually tell everyone what everyone does.
We could do that too. Yeah. Let's start in reverse. So, Jason, what do you do?
So I am Jason again. I'm from Juggernaut. I am the lead animator / character modeler, I guess, for Juggernaut Games on Starcrawlers.
Cool. George, what's your deal?
That's a good question. I often wonder myself what my deal is. I am the plucky owner of Juggernaut Games and the leader of this merry band of misfits. I am also a designer. I spend the majority of my time programming, so feel my pain.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm Asa, and I am the co-designer on Starcrawlers with George, and also the art director, and then I'm drawing all of the characters. Our characters are 2D, so.
Hi, I'm Keir, and I'm programming on Darkest Dungeon.
Is that programming with an apostrophe then and no G?
Yeah, he only programs it in 1895.
No vowels. The vowels are out now.
Can we just call you? You're just gramming.
I'm gramming. Grammy Keir. Find those logic cookies and hugs.
I reckon I get to gramming this afternoon.
Oh, Chris is blowtorching.
That's actually not me.
Blowtorching.
Somebody's blowtorching.
I keep turning off my mic and turning it back on. That might be me. We all got sick over here at Juggernaut Games last week, so that was really fun.
Brutal.
Trying not to cough into everybody.
Hashtag game dev.
Hashtag. Tyler, what do you do?
I do lots of things. I'm Tyler. I'm co-founder of Red Hook, and I do game design primarily, and also split all the boring administration stuff with Chris.
Cool. And yeah,
actually,
Chris.
It's not that boring though.
I'm Chris. I'm the creative director and artist on Darkest Dungeon. And like Asa, I feel his pain because there's only one of us on each project, and we have so much goddamn art to do.
It's all of your faults. If you would just be less good at your jobs, we could hire other people to do half of it.
It's true. It's completely un-outsourceable. That's the production model that I've adopted. So I noticed Starcrawlers the day they launched their Kickstarter campaign, and I'm a huge Eye the Beholder 2 fan and Grimrock, and then I saw the art style and just the overall look and feel, and I instantly became a fan, and especially I like the Smuggler. So today I thought I would do the Smuggler, and I got a rough sketch kind of in here so I don't look like a total chub, but I'm gonna get to work, and then maybe you guys can talk a little bit about the game and whatever.
Yeah.
What
So sorry, what?
No.
I was just gonna say, Starcrawlers actually started off being a fairly small game, and we're like, let's see, if we do like a classic first-person dungeon crawl, then we can make the characters 2D, and it's like, oh, I can draw all of them, which at the time
Sounded like a
that was
great idea.
Yeah, it sounded like a good idea when it was something a little bit smaller. I think George and I both have a tendency to start making things a little bit larger and larger as we go, which as long as we're
But
long as
that's
we're
how
thinking
it
straight.
went from a great idea to an amazing idea, which is where it's at now, right?
Yeah, so it is a first-person dungeon crawl in a sci-fi setting. We actually named the guys crawlers. They're kind of like they're not necessarily mercenaries, but they're hired to take on jobs. So you're like kind of like fixers in some ways. Sometimes you're killing things, sometimes you're grabbing stuff, all kinds of different kinds of missions.
Cool. And what was the inspiration behind your kind of like look and feel for the tech and the overall kind of universe?
I think that like something that we wanted to do, we didn't want to make it look incredibly serious. I know sci-fi can sometimes be really serious, so I think if you look at some of the shape design that we're using, like on the robots and then like on the characters, it's got like we tried to put some whimsy into it and make it look a little bit odd and different. That way, people know right away that they're in for some fun, not just incredibly dark dungeon. No, I'm kidding.
Like a super depressing, waste of your Saturday afternoon.
Well, I mean, I just don't know that we could have pulled off that successfully. So we're trying to get a little bit of whimsy in there, but at the same time take it sort of serious. So everything's rendered sort of realistically, but with kind of crazy shape design where we can.
Yeah, the shapes really jumped out at me. Like especially I think is it the Void Psyker, that big guy with like the radar dish on his head?
That's the Force Psyker.
The Force
yeah,
Psyker, yeah.
Yeah.
He's pretty intense though. It's a cool design. Like you just went for it shape wise.
Yeah, I actually I toned that down. I had some sketches in my sketchbook that that head piece was even bigger and crazier. I toned it down a little bit, and hopefully it's interesting because Ben is doing our music. That's his favorite character, and unfortunately, that was the last one to be voted in. We let the Kickstarter backers vote in like which characters we would add as stretch goals. And for some reason, he didn't get any love.
Really?
Yeah, which has made some people think that we should redesign him. But I love his design, so I don't know.
Uh-oh.
That's
Some
what
people,
happens when you resort to democracy.
I know what people don't know what they want, really, right?
Yeah.
You gotta slant things in the favor of what you want, where you do a great job on one thing and a really crappy job on two other things, and then
I learned how to do that freelancing, the old red herring. Like, here's 6 designs, and then 2 of them are just awful. And you're like, okay,
I heard someone talk about dealing with art directors once, and he said that back when he used to do pixel art, so I guess he was in the industry for a long time, he used to put like a weird color, like a pink pixel, in there, so that he would show it, and then they'd be like, "It's really good, except for that pink pixel. I don't get what that's for."
And you're like, oh, great,
So,
yeah.
yeah, he'd take that out. I guess he later became a character modeler, and I don't think anyone should do this, but he would model his character, and it would be like over the amount of tries, So he would create a sphere and put like thousands of tries on the sphere and stick it inside the character, so that when the art director came by, they'd be like, "Oh, it looks good," and then they look at the try count and be like, "Oh, that's crazy try count. We can't use that." And then he would just erase the sphere. So when they came back, oh, it's a lot better now. We can use that.
And then the art director's like, it's amazing. It still looks the same, yet it's optimized.
what good art
Exactly.
direction.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
We got our first question.
Okay.
It's from me though.
Make sure you put it in your Google Doc.
It's there. What exactly does this lady smuggle?
I don't know. What do you think, George? You want to take care of that one?
That's an excellent question. Thank you.
Anytime.
What does she smuggle? That depends, really. I have no idea what she smuggles. We talked about what kind of characters we wanted, and we immediately were like, we need our Han Solo smuggler character in there. So she doesn't have a ship because she's rolling around with you guys. So she's got to be smuggling things on foot, and she has a Batman utility pack.
Yeah.
So it looks like she's smuggling cans of beans, maybe. And
Yeah, she's on her way to a cookout.
and packs of smokes in there. In
Yeah.
a little, like a
She's
holster.
smuggling them into jail. That's the plot
Exactly.
twist.
There you go. That just
You know what
became
the-
lore right now.
You know, what'd be a good smuggler in the future would be she has a portable warp generator, so she smuggles herself in, sets up the warp generator, and then they can just move large cargo directly into wherever it needs to go.
Wait, I'm gonna write that down.
Like you don't even need the ship. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, so we the smuggler, she was one of our favorites too. We picked her out because we wanted to do some traditional archetypes that people could identify with, even though they were like these outlandish sci-fi characters. So we tried to keep it sort of close there. You've got your mages, which are your psychers, and obviously she's inspired by like a ranger type, roguey type character. So we thought we can't have space rogues. What do they have in the future? And they obviously have smugglers. So she's your dual wield pistol character. And she's got a gas mask on too.
You could sometimes, I guess, just take things and add space to, like, you know, space orcs, and then they're supposedly set in the future, but we tried to think of some classes. We didn't want it like space mage or anything like that. So.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta
Space
be honest.
Wizards.
Yeah, Space Mage is not maybe the most captivating name you can come up with.
Spage.
Spage.
So how far into your do you guys have a pretty developed kind of lore? You know, how far down that rabbit hole have you guys kind of gone?
It's getting deeper and deeper. We have
Really?
late night conversations where we just sit and do lore after work. It's getting good though. Our musician Ben is always asking us he's like, I need lore. I need you to give me the entire story. So we're working on that. One of the cool things we did too is we did a lot of content creation in association with the backers. So we have some awesome backers that are contributing all kinds of cool scenarios and backstories for characters. And we're just now getting into that stuff with them. That's been really exciting.
Is
So
there a
we're
story
trying-
for the game?
Yeah, no, totally.
Oh, cool.
The main storyline revolves around the ship called the Stella Marin, it went missing a couple months ago, I believe, and then it just randomly showed up with no souls on board. And it's full of zombies, and it's very dark inside. So
Oh, cool.
it's not full of zombies. We stole that from you guys. But yeah, the main storyline is going to be around you investigating the Stella Marin. And it turns out the ship has all kinds of crazy stuff on it that's owned by a bunch of these mega corporations. So they all have a vested interest in getting a specialist team inside of it to figure out what happened and to get their stuff off the ship and get it back into their hands. Or get other people's stuff off the ship into their hands.
Cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So then it's a
So-
big cavernous ship that you can explore with different levels and things.
Yeah, so there's right now we're actually working on what we're calling the high class sections, and I think we're gonna have some screenshots of that really soon. But the lower decks feel a lot like the Titanic, so it's a lot of cramped quarters and small civilian housing and stuff. And then you get in some sort of high class areas where it's much more cruise shippy on the upper decks, and it's more exciting. So the majority of the game is going to take place aboard the Stella Marin, but we've also got some exciting stuff going on the side where you're going to be visiting corporate facilities and raiding those and different installations. So not all of it takes place on a spaceship, but the majority of it will.
Was the that mix build that you guys made public, was that on the main ship, or was that one of the side missions?
That was on the main ship.
Oh, cool.
It was just sort of a demo of, you guys know how it is. We're like, oh, we're going to the mix, so we need to put together something, because right now we've got a lot of scattered pieces, and we're just now starting to stitch them all together into a cohesive game.
Right.
So the mix mission was like, what can we stitch together that we've got really quick? And we're like, oh, let's make you get the black box off the ship. So that may not actually make it into the final game, but it was a pretty good indication of where we were at the time.
Yeah,
the
it
feel
could
of playing the game.
It could illustrate the systems and the game concept within like a short demo period.
Short as possible, yeah.
That was one of the big things I was worried about. I don't want to say I won't project in this case, but going into PAX with our build was just that, you know, both our games are kind of tactical, and, you know, there's so many sort of games on the show floor that are immediate gratification, kind of high octane games, and
Right.
that type of game, it was a little bit, I don't know, I felt daunted, but
No,
we're
absolutely.
still-
I mean,
I don't know how you guys feel about this. It's actually an interesting question to me. Is, you know, for us, we run into things where people look at it and they're like, we don't know what all these abilities do. Of course, when you're playing the game, you will, because you build your characters, right? And you add those abilities as you're going. But, you know, in a demo, it's a little bit harder, especially if someone is just coming and sitting down. So we've gone back and forth on ways to best illustrate that. But I think it's a hard thing with games that are a little bit more deep and less, you know, twitchy.
yeah, especially from I mean, again, these are subjective observations, but like a lot of the breakout indie stuff is kind of you know, very very direct and kind of focused on that. I don't want to say retro, but like, you know, like Broforce and stuff. You pick it up and you can immediately have fun with it, whereas games like this require you to be somewhat familiar with what's going on, and there's a little bit of intellectual upfront investment. But Tyler, like, you've worked on both types of games, you know? Is there any value to that, or am I just talking shit?
Any value to which thing?
To the observation that, like, maybe, you know, it's more difficult to demo, or at least get curbside appeal for a tactical game over a, you know, racing game with achievements every 3 seconds or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different. I think it's a different time experience. I mean, you do tend to process less people through, because you can't really sit down in 2 minutes and feel like you had anything satisfying really happen. So, you know, it's just a different kind of thing. I think, you know, there are a lot of people that are competing in the same way as the samurai guns and the tower falls, and but, you know, a lot of people, I think, even at those shows, are willing to sit down and spend 20 minutes. It's kind of hard on the dev side, just because, you know, 20 minutes per person, you don't get as many people through, but, you know, it's just a different type of game.
Yeah, the multiplayer games definitely do have a peer pressure to them as well. When you need a guy, it's easier to pull people in to play the game that are just walking by, I feel.
Fortunately, though, I think, you know, at least watching, I mean, that worked out well at PAX in terms of having the screens so people could watch. But yeah, it's nice to know, though, that there's tons of people out there that want something meatier. I mean, an instant gratification game doesn't scratch all itches, you know.
Is Starcrawler something you guys, or that this type of game, is this genre, is it something you've been wanting to do for a while? Like, how did you hit on the sort of Eye of the Beholder, Ultima Underworld, kind of that old school, you know, grid movement, that whole thing?
Do you want to tell them, Asa, or shall I?
I can talk about it a little bit, and if you want to add in after that. It came out about 2 different ways. I mean, we both like these kinds of games. George and I both enjoyed this type of game a lot, and I think as a larger, just medium to like RPGs and that kind of thing is something we also enjoyed. So, you know, this is one of the ways when I was starting that, like, work on this project was a way to kind of go back to something classic, but at the same time maybe make an RPG in a simpler way than, you know, like Skyrim, obviously, where it's a huge open world and everything. That being said, you know, making any kind of RPG is kind of silly in that it takes so much time and work, especially for something that doesn't immediately draw people in visually, you know. So I think it was, yeah, just kind of that, like, thinking of ways that we could work on an RPG in a little bit more simple way, but at the same time, you know, like I was in high school when a lot of those games came out, and I used to sit around playing them. So yeah, I love them. I don't know. You want to add anything, George?
Yeah. Should we talk about the part how it was a side project?
That
If
sounds
you want,
like a
yeah.
cool part.
Unexpected love child. Yeah, so we were actually working on a completely different game, which I won't spoil it right now, and we were just in the exploratory stages for that. And Asa had suggested, hey, why don't we investigate a little side project,
Just
maybe
a little
something
one.
on iOS, just a really small dungeon crawling RPG.
We'll just quickly
With,
bang that out on Thursday afternoon.
Yeah, no, that was the plan, totally. With procedural
Well,
elements.
it was simpler at that point, though.
No, it was a lot simpler at first and much more manageable. But the more we worked on it and the more we devoted time to developing it, we got really excited by the possibilities of it. And when we finally made the leap to focusing on it full time, we shelved the other game and we were like, let's just really dive into this thing and make it as all out insane as we can. Which is always a good plan, right? It's just to go crazy from the get-go. So when we switched over to PC development for it, because originally it was completely iOS, we were like, okay, the gloves are off. We can go as big as we want. We don't have to worry about try counts or complexity or any of that stuff, which is really exciting. So I'm really happy to say we've actually not held back on putting features into the game. We've really just pushed forward with cram it all in there. And we've been really lucky so far in that everything has just worked quite well, which is really strange. But yeah, it's working. And we haven't added any more features, but the ones we have are pretty preserved from where we started out, which is exciting. Yeah. We like complex things, unfortunately. Asa and I both individually love complex things. So put together, we're like double complex team.
Like scheduler's worst nightmare.
Yeah, exactly. Elena is like tearing her hair out because we're like, and then we need to do this, and then we need to do this.
Do you guys have a
fair,
full-on
she
like?
has overly complicated some things too. Like she wants to put in some story things that add some time, so it's good. We're all three of us complicating things.
Yeah, all three of us working together can really complex this.
Do you have like a full-on like loot system? Like how's the?
Yeah,
part of the
actually,
game
I
work?
just finished writing that this past week, and our other programmer, John, who's working remotely, gets to now implement that into our serialization process, where you actually save off all the data and into our loot lockers and stuff. But it completely randomly generates armor, shields, and 7 different types of weapons right now that all have different capabilities, which is really exciting. And then we were like, hey, you know what we should do is have procedurally generated art for them also, so Asa can tear his hair out on that. But that system is up and running. It's all numbers right now. There's no visuals to go with it, but it's pretty cool.
That is cool. That'll be fun just for you guys for playing it too. I know it's kind of nice to then be surprised by stuff showing up that you didn't individually craft, you know?
Yeah, exactly. We've got a ton of modifiers in there too. Like we were just throwing in random ones, and I think the other day someone pulled out like a scoped plush shiv, which had some really interesting and useless attributes on it, but it was really cool to see that because it's not something that someone planned ahead of time.
A scoped plushie.
Yeah.
Nice.
But it's a shiv too.
I got
that was
it.
a
Yeah.
shiv. That was the bonus part.
That's cool.
Yeah, we
Then
just
you
got.
do-
Question
Oh,
from the
Richard.
chat, or question/recommendation from the chat from Kojopo. Rocket boots.
Rocket boots. Yes, those are totally going in. Actually, we had for our hilarious April 1st gag, which no one saw coming because no one sees those coming on the internet. We actually introduced a new class, which was the Swag Marine. And our environment artist, Tony, put together a concept art in about 5 minutes. And it was basically a Space Marine with a lifted jetpack and sponsored by Monster and Rockstar. And he actually had rocket boots on him as one of his gag abilities, I think. But we're actually gonna put those in now as an item that you're gonna find in the game.
That's cool. Do you guys have like named companies, kind of like a la Borderlands, where you've got like gear coming from these organizations? Because I know you've mentioned like these big space megacorps a couple of times. How prominently do they kind of feature into the?
Yeah, totally. We actually have we created a few small list of companies that we're going to manage internally. So there's Boomslang Munitions is the number one. There's our gun manufacturer, and then we have some armorers and shield makers. But a lot of our companies are actually backer created, which is really cool.
Oh, no way.
Yep. So I think Gallum Tall is in the chat right now. Gallo's contributing a company, right? I'm querying Elena at this time. Gallo's contributing in company. Gallo? Yeah.
That's a cool
Gallo.
idea, though.
Yeah,
That is cool.
so there's a lot of people who actually made their own companies, and they're like, I want to produce weapons. So one of our backers, The Blue, who's a big Kickstarter, he has a company that manufactures weapons, and he said, I want these weapons in a particular way. So, yeah, a lot of our stuff is actually going to have backer companies' names on it, and their brand and logos and stuff. Gallo's contributing 2 companies, I'm being told. Nice! Thanks, Gallo.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
That's a sweet
Is this-
idea. I like
Are
that.
you showing Asa's now?
Well, I have to get reference bits
Yeah.
for the costume. I haven't
Yeah,
drawn
that's cool.
technology stuff in like a year. I don't know how any of it works anymore. I have no like visual, like mental library left.
That's okay. I have no idea how it works either, so that works out pretty well for you drawing it.
I always like that she's like the Han Solo smooth talker, but kind of looks like a creep, like with this gas mask on, like, you know.
And the
Well,
dead
we-
round eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had this. I don't know. Should we talk about oxygen? I don't think we're going to do oxygen anymore.
Oh, I see.
More from a game design perspective than anything else. It was an idea we had that, like, I think we felt like unless we implemented it really well, might not be as fun as we thought it would be. But because that when I started all the characters, we were thinking, it might be there might not be any air inside the ship, so we had to make sure everyone had some kind of like a respirator, a helmet, or anything like that, and then so now they all just have that. So
Now it's just a thing. It's just the fashion of the day.
yeah.
Yeah, it's funny that the oxygen thing is almost like our torchlight, right? Like, I don't know how you guys had it designed, but like every step you take in our game, like you lose light, and then that makes kind of the play conditions tougher, but more rewarding.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much what we had. Ours was actually our original shield system that we had on our characters was every step you took, your shields were generated. And to counterbalance that, we had every step you took, your oxygen depleted. So you couldn't just run in a circle to up your shields. And then when the plan actually met contact with the enemy, oxygen didn't last very long because we found out we were like, oh, we're making these really cool immersive environments that you can explore, and there's all kinds of interactive stuff in there.
But hurry up.
Yeah, exactly. So people's immediate response was, I want to stop and like poke everything and wander around, but I'm not allowed to do that because I feel like we're going to run out of oxygen. So it wasn't fun in play. It sounded like a really cool idea, but it didn't survive.
Yeah, it can end up. Was it just kind of working counter purposes to what you wanted them to do, and then it just becomes something that takes away instead of, so you're constantly feeling like, oh, this little bit was taken away from me. That's no fun. That's no fun. That's no fun.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, even if it was 1 unit of oxygen, people were like, oh, that's really depressing. I have to run through here. I'm going to run out of oxygen. Even if they had thousands of units of oxygen, it would be like -1 oxygen, and they'd be like, I'm losing.
I used to hate games with time limits in them when I was a kid. I refused to play them because I just didn't like the pressure of like, hurry up and have fun.
Yeah.
Have fun faster.
Yeah, and I don't think it's that couldn't have been fun, but we had to sit down and really decide what we wanted this game to be about, and we really decided it would be about the overall story arc and the way the stories went together, and then the building your characters, so the abilities and the equipment that they would get. And then our third point of what this game would be about would be exploration. And once we decided that, then we were like, okay, we need all the mechanics to really build towards making you want to explore, rather than trying to stop you from doing that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So is Torchlight something that you guys still have in right now?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's in, but it's somewhat different, I guess. In that case, where there are conditions where low torchlight can be good. So you're like the characters they're stronger, or they have better crit chances. The loot, basically, when Chris was saying rewarding, that's like literally rewarding. Like you get some better loot draws and stuff the darker it is. But everything gets a little more stressful and the monsters get a little tougher too. So we're still playing around with it. It really fits into the motif of the game. I mean, obviously Darkest Dungeon, but it's a sort of thing where if we can pay it off the way we want to pay it off, then we're hoping that it'll still be cool. But one thing we have done is simplified it. Before we were thinking, oh, there's going to be darker hallways and lighter hallways, and sometimes you'll look and say, oh, I want to go. I'm going to go down the very dark hallway, which will really eat the torch up. But then we're trying to do other things with the dungeon layouts too, and that started kind of driving the boat where I think we can get to the same result of going on a little side. Like investigating a side room that is off the main path is already a detour. It already takes things away. It already takes resources. You might get in a fight, and so we kind of simplified a lot of what we were going to do there.
It also looks cooler too.
Yeah, I imagine.
Oh, when it gets dark.
Yeah, when it's dark, it looks awesome.
Yeah, our game didn't get more exciting as you got low on oxygen.
I guess we could have had like Technicolors or something, weird colors come up when you last started losing oxygen.
Something turned blue.
And then people could do like the Everest thing. They can try to win the game with no supplemental oxygen.
Hardcore.
Wait, people try and climb Mount Everest without oxygen?
Yeah.
And survive?
Yeah, no, a lot of people have done it. And the super serious, like, it's kind of a thing, right? It's like, did you beat it on Iron Man? Right?
But it's with your life, though, like,
Yeah. And, like, it's kind of the non-nerd equivalent to us trying to, like, 100% it, right? So, yeah, it's a lot of the Sherpas do it, and then some non-Sherpa climbers have done it. And back in, like, not to get on too much of a detour, but there was some guides who did it, like in that 96 Everest disaster where, like, a bunch of people were killed. There was, like, one guide who was climbing without oxygen, and then he got so tired that he couldn't help people out, and, like, it was just really bad.
It's terrible.
They just had another bad thing happen, right?
Yeah.
Like a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Really?
Do a lot of good things happen in Mount Everest?
I haven't heard of one good thing. Like, nobody finds a fucking pony at the top of Everest.
I've actually, one of the good things I've heard is, like, the climbing Everest thing now is it's like multi-million-dollar like industry.
Mm-hmm.
So just like the tours and the different things, the packages that you buy to do it. So I guess that's good, right? Some people are making lots of money on it.
Well, it's good for the local, economy. I mean, certainly it's provided jobs, but yeah.
You can't move Mount Everest. It's not like you can get a
truth.
new owner.
Preach on, brother.
Yeah, that's so deep.
It's so deep. Keir's just gramming,
That's cool. So that's cool. Are there other consumables in the game then, like where? I was trying to think. Like we're still doing like firewood, and that limits how often you can camp, and therefore reduce or increase your torchlight again. Do you have anything like? Do you have food or a concept of time, or not that this is necessary? I'm just more curious.
Yeah, I think one of the big things that we want to do as far as a consumable is your health is really like something that's playing into it. So we don't have any healing classes. That's something we made as a conscious choice. Most RPGs have like some kind of healing class, but then I feel like you almost have to take that class all the time.
Yeah.
So for us, one of the big things is going to be like med kits. How many you want to carry for those? In relation to the backpack space. And then we're going to have. I mean, these aren't quite the same, but have items, different things. Like one of the stretch goals that we unlocked on Kickstarter was. The deployable, they're not droids because those are under copyright. I continually, I guess they're just little robots. I continually refer to them as noids around the office just because they're not droids, but I don't think that sounds great, so we're going to have to figure out something. But those will be fun.
Yeah, that was
You'll be able to buddies currently.
Dominoes might be on your ass if you.
That's true. But they'll be like, they're almost like a robot Pokemon, you get to carry one around with you, throw it out there, it'll fight for you.
I guess Digimon were digital, they weren't robots. But
That's cool. Yeah, I like that concept a lot. I know what you mean about the healers. Like we're doing something like we have some classes that have healing ability, but we kind of purposefully want to make sure it's not too strong because otherwise you're kind of required to take it. And also a little bit of the theme of what we're trying to do is you're kind of trying to survive through the dungeon, but you shouldn't expect to always be full health and no stress. So you're more fighting a delaying action against the cumulative wounds of fighting and the cumulative stress of adventuring, as opposed to I think a lot of RPGs are just straight up you're refreshing constantly. But I think
Right.
that's cool what you're doing because if you have the consumables, then you can do a lot of other different stuff with classes, and you're not restricted to always having to reserve a slot for a healer. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right.
A large part of our game too is we were really inspired by Shadowrun, where you're picking a team of specialists.
Mhm.
So our hope is that you don't just pick 4 characters and remember the same 4 characters every time, though you can do that. But the different mission types are going to favor stealthy type characters. It might be like an information extraction mission, so you're going to want to bring your smuggler and your cyber ninja. Whereas a soldier and a force psyker going in there will probably like smash and blow things up. So we wanted to feel like you weren't obligated to bring your healing class, but you could benefit from switching up your team based upon their skill set.
Yeah, we kind of have the same thing. Like right now, we have I think only one dedicated healer, but even then, she can only heal in battle. And it was kind of the same thing, like Tyler was saying. Like we wanted it to feel like no matter what, you're going to get more messed up the longer you adventure around, and she's not necessarily the be all and end all. Because like you guys, we want to make sure people are rotating their rosters in and out, constantly. It's part of the fun of the game.
Yeah, I like that idea. Like, I think ours has a similar feel as far as the health. Like, we have the shields that will replenish, but you're still going to take damage within battles, so your life will continually, slowly, drop down. It reminds me a lot, have you played the board game Arkham Horror?
Oh yes.
Yeah, so the idea there being it's like a slow grind that will slowly kill you rather than an immediate death until the Ancient One comes out, I guess, and then you're...
Mhm.
Yeah, or you play with the King in Yellow mod, and that's just a big mess.
Yeah. Yeah, the first time I played that game, I think it took 8 hours. So
I know, and it probably didn't even make any sense. Like, we have our own set of rules for it, just because we just couldn't get through some of that stuff.
I'm watching. So is it? You've probably heard this question a million times, and so have we. But is your game are the missions do you manage your roster? You said there's actually full on roguelike.
Yeah, it's not roguelike at all. That's one of the
Okay.
first things we were like, oh, we got procedural generation in there, and people are like, oh, you're making a roguelike, but that's not actually the case. So when you're back at the station, which is sort of your hub environment, you're going to be presented with these are story missions that you can go on, and these are optional side missions. Even the story missions are going to be procedurally generated as far as the environment goes. So you'll have a specific structured story about why you're going to this place, but in different playthroughs, you get a completely different environment with different stuff in there and different enemies. But the story is going to be the same, which is something we're really excited about. But the side missions are just grab bags of go here, find this person, kill them, and it's a procedurally generated environment every time, which is really cool. There's definitely an overarching story, and it's going to be branching because we're crazy, and we just love complecting branching stories. Yeah. And our goal is, our big goal is to not have you feel like I'm making these decisions which feel different, but then you end up at the exact same place at the end of it, which is, it's a tough choice to make, but it's one we're consciously making, that we want to have different branching endings based upon your choices. So there may be content that some people will never see. We're trying to minimize that so we don't kill ourselves making a ton of content no one will ever see, but we definitely want to have that in there.
That's neat.
Yeah, we still haven't really figured out how we're doing our story. It's like ours is a lot more... We're not even really roguelike either. I mean, truth be told, in the purest sense of the word.
We're roguelike.
Yeah, we're like a second cousin to the roguelike.
First
not-
derivative.
Yeah. But our story is a little bit different. It's definitely a lot lighter. We don't have branching paths, you've got a specific thing that you're trying to do. But then we have all this procedural stuff, and all the quests and dungeons are all procedural layered on top of that. So it's kind of, we've actually just been talking about progression and how to sort of measure a player's progression despite the fact that, all this content is procedural. It's kind of an interesting challenge.
Cool.
I think I'm butchering this, Asa.
Keir.
Okay, question.
Questions?
I got a question. What are these pistols? How do these pistols fire? They fire real bullets, space bullets, lasers.
I think they need to fire knives now. Someone just suggested that in chat. They could have ammo cartridges that shoot knives.
Pew.
That's up to Chris, right?
There we
They
go.
shoot space bullets.
Space
Yeah,
knives.
so, well, our whole our weapon system, we're actually going to have lots of different, so we'll have laser weapons, and we'll have ones that use rounds, different kinds, insignia, fire rounds, different things like that. So these guns themselves, I mean, I don't know, they were just on there, but so she could have different kinds of weapons equipped at different times, and George is just talking about the loot system that he was writing, but just watching him put that together was pretty exciting. Because I don't know, there's just so many. He hit the button and it just started generating a whole bunch of them. I almost needed to be wearing brown pants that day so that no one could see what was going on.
Uh-huh.
It was pretty cool.
I'm gonna have to add an upgrade for shoots knives, though.
Yeah.
It's gotta happen.
So you guys cover the spectrum, though. As far as sci-fi mythology goes, you'll shoot lasers. You guys will shoot whatever, right? Is that the idea?
Exactly. You can
Right.
shoot whatever you want. It's kind of neat because we don't have a hard-coded elemental system in there. We weren't going to have this does fire damage and this resists fire damage. We were kind of everything is vanilla damage, but we're going to present it in different ways with different particles, and they'll be generic styles. So whenever you inflict acid damage, it will reduce your armor as well as inflicting a dot on you. But there's no hardcore category for it, so we can easily be let's make it shoot knives and add in an upgrade that does that.
Yeah, we sidestepped the whole elemental stuff. We felt like it skewed a little too close to D&D.
Mm-hmm.
Fireballs and lightning bolts and that kind of thing.
Right.
Also, fireballs make the torch kind of pointless.
It's true. It's true.
A fire mage has no problem seeing in the dark.
Well, then you would have a class that you always had to take.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could combine it.
This guy's-
The fire mage
Yeah.
can also heal. Done.
Yeah, a simple mage light, cantrip would really ruin our game.
That could be cool to have an ability to increase the torch in battle, sacrificing a turn.
I think that should be the Kickstarter exclusive class.
Who's the mage light? guy?
Completely OP class.
Ugh, no comment.
Yeah, that was quite the roller coaster.
Oh, that's right. You guys got some blowback from that, huh?
Got a little bit of blowback, yeah.
We did too, because we said we want to offer some Kickstarter exclusive gear.
Oh yeah.
That so you can. It's basically if you played WoW or something, it's an heirloom type item that'll give you a boost when you're starting out. That was our idea behind it, but the
Borderlands
logical.
does that.
Yeah. And the logical conclusion for some people was to be oh, you're just going to give completely OP epic weapons to everyone who backed you on Kickstarter. So we had to explain a lot that no, they're boosts and they're completely optional. But yeah, some people were very irate about something that was not actually a thing.
Yeah, I think it's hard to communicate intent over the internet a lot of times. And so if somebody maybe approaches something you say with a suspicion or the assumption that you're doing something that maybe you're not, it's really hard to kind of argue back from that or come down from it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was definitely one of my big takeaway learnings from running the Kickstarter is stay away from that stuff in the future.
Yeah, I feel like the Kickstarter was such a crazy. It's like a crazy place. It's a crazy thing to do. I mean, I'm really thankful. We have some really dedicated fans already, which is amazing. I never thought we would have that coming out of the Kickstarter. They're on our forums and they're posting a lot, and that's really cool. At the same time, it seems like there are some little bit crazy people on Kickstarter.
I think we got off light though. I mean, we had a really positive experience. Going in, we were like, we're gonna have to explain to everybody, and then there's gonna be people in there attacking us and stuff. But we didn't get any of that stuff. We had a few extreme emails, but overall, I think we had a really positive campaign, and that was really exciting. And I'm sure you guys did too, right? Because you had a legion of people ready to go, and were super stoked for your Kickstarter before you even fired it off.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, we're really happy to have the fans, and it means a lot to have that support. We do all this stuff, and sometimes the stuff turns out cool, but while you're doing it, you just want it to be pleasing to people, and so it was definitely, we had way more positive interactions than bad, and we had legitimately like a lot of fun just interacting with people, and still do actually, hearing from backers and fans, and seeing them throw out ideas and get excited about the game. It's pretty cool.
Especially at PAX, like if there was all those people that backed the Kickstarter and came to our booth. That was
pretty awesome. I didn't believe they were real, even after the Kickstarter campaign closed. Even now I have trouble wrapping my head around the fact that we have like quote unquote fans. But
There's that one kid who got us to sign everything, or sign his piece of paper that said I backed this.
Yeah. So awesome. He was going around from booth to booth to all the games that he backed, getting them to sign it with this piece of paper.
Yeah, I administered a liberal helping of high fives to all the backers.
I fully committed to handshaking every single one of them. I got so sick at the end of PAX, but I was like, fuck it. I'm gonna handshake anything that moves that comes to our booth.
Nice.
And I don't regret it.
I regret nothing.
I regret nothing. I used so much hand sanitizer and it didn't even work. I got so ill.
Yeah, I got sick before, which worked out well.
You planned it, didn't you?
My body did.
Keir actually started waking up 15 minutes earlier every day so that he wouldn't be tired when he had to wake up for his flight. That's the level of planning that Keir brings to things.
Well, no, it's to get accustomed to the Eastern time zone.
Sure.
It wasn't just for the flight.
Sure. Even that.
Yeah,
far in excess of anything I've ever heard of before.
He started like a week in advance, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to bed 15 minutes earlier every night." But despite we think it's ridiculous, he was very well rested, and strung out.
Keir also doesn't drink, and so yeah, he was very well rested. Every morning, I felt like I had just like cheated death by waking up, and Keir was like, let's get up earlier and go further for breakfast. Let's get up later and go nowhere.
So here's the best part is it's 4 days of PAX Prime. So
oh my god. I may not survive.
I actually felt like I could have done a 4-day and be completely fine.
I think you volunteered yourself for like first person at the booth then too, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they also would. If I was the only person at booth, that would kind of encourage them to show up as well.
I'd curb my
like, we don't want to like Keir be the only person there in case somebody shows up with a video camera.
Kajobo just mentioned we should give props to Twitchblade. We should. He's talking about awesome interactions. He writes like Darkest Dungeon fan fiction, not even the weird kind. Like it's straight up good stuff. It's really entertaining.
Do we have weird fan fiction?
Not yet, but I think that's what when you've made it. You have the weird fan fiction.
When we're on DeviantArt in deviant ways, we'll know we've made it.
We do have on our forum we have one fan fiction that made me happy to see, and then we also have someone whose avatar is a brony basically, but it's a hacker, so it has the hacker stuff on it. That made me very happy.
That's amazing.
Chris really liked the pony when he saw it.
I was so jealous.
That's awesome.
All right. Well, we got about 10 minutes left. I'm not gonna be totally able to finish this, but maybe
work on the guns.
Some
color.
in there. Yeah.
Get the guns.
People like color. They wait till the end and then they get.
You think people like color more than guns, Tyler? You're crazy.
No, they want to see color. That we've established this over the other Twitches that.
I know, but I can't color nothing. Otherwise, I'd be digital. Like, I'm happy to digital paint, but
No,
it's not
I
kind of
gotcha.
what this is, right?
Yeah.
Oh, he's even in here. Twitchblade, what's up?
Oh, he's good.
How does it work with the dual guns? Like, do you have? I know your combat's turn-based. So is it like one attack that has more damage, or is it actually like she gets more actions within your action line, stuff like that?
Everything is ability based, and you can have 5 equipped abilities right now, as long as you're with your default shoot, which is just using your weapons. And she is special in that if you have her equipped with a pistol, she actually counts as having 2 of them equipped. It's a match set deal. Yeah, so she can shoot twice with those, which is kind of fun because you really favor using the smuggler for things that inflict on-hit status effects, because she's obviously twice as likely to get off a cool attack. And a lot of her stuff is going to be push your luck type mechanics, so you can keep using the same ability over and over to increase its crit chance and make it shoot faster and faster. But there'll be a chance that her guns will jam, and then she'll stun herself for half an hour if she's maxed on it.
Half an hour.
Yeah, well.
Sorry,
a long
guys.
time ago.
I'm
Yeah.
out.
Hope you enjoyed playing the smuggler.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I think is kind of cool, you were asking like if it's just going to do more damage or not. What we're trying to do, because we also have weapons that are going to shoot multiple times. So each of those, it'll actually just figure out the hit and miss for each of them and then do damage based on each shot. So I think it's going to be fun because if you use like a machine gun and you shoot a bunch of shots, you're going to see like each one of them, whether they hit or not, like really fast on top of the bad guy. It'll be cool.
Lots of line numbers.
Yeah, the feedback is so important and satisfying. Okay, I'll finish this and make it cooler over the next couple of days.
Yeah, there's no way I'm going to finish mine in the time that we have, so I thought we'd probably have to finish them up later.
Yeah, for sure.
Or even next time we could switch back and forth and give you guys 2 hours and then check in on the progress.
Well,
Maybe we
that's
just
a
live
good
stream
idea.
for a week and a half while we just work like dogs. Alright, let's just imagine that this is a gun.
Wait, Chris, are you secretly just trying to draw your Star Wars bounty hunter?
No, actually, although it crossed my mind. I had to break up with Star Wars.
So we got some new people in the chat. So they're not 100% sure what's going on.
Give him the lowdown, Keir.
Here's the lowdown. This is a smuggler from a game called Starcrawlers, done by an artist from Darkest Dungeon in the style of Darkest Dungeon.
Let that sink in.
So that's depression.
So when it says, when the question is what game is this art for, well, it's kind of in between.
Yeah.
It's Artception. And then, if
Alright,
you
I'll do
stay
some
around,
color here.
then the artist for Starcrawlers will be drawing a Darkest Dungeon character in the Starcrawler style.
It's gonna happen
So-
in about 8 minutes.
Oh.
Try to let that not explode your brain.
What color does she shoot, Asa?
I think I had it orange, but mostly just to go off of, like have a warm color because her suit was mostly blue. So,
Sweet.
whatever color.
I was hoping for a crayon color like radioactive energy orange.
I think she can shoot blue or orange, right? Because we're in space in sci-fi.
So we only have blue and orange in our game.
Yeah.
Right.
Go next.
Hey, you know what we could do for the next stream? This just came to me because I'm the idea man. I'm just throwing
Here we
it out
go.
there. So,
He's riffing.
yeah, Keir can program in Darkest Dungeon using only Starcrawler's variable names, and then for an hour, and then George can program in Starcrawlers using only Darkest Dungeon variable names for an hour.
That sounds amazing. Our most productive hour each.
Yeah, the funny thing about streaming programming is that
Stream
video
going?
compression doesn't do well with text. So we're gonna need to blow up that text, which makes our ability to work worse.
Like jitterbug
Nice.
programming.
Well, it would be programming in 64-point font so people can read it.
All right, I'm gonna throw some quick shit down here and then pass it off.
Or some design streaming where I go to a coffee shop and put the pen to my lips and just think, and then I just stream that on the internet a little bit.
It's just like 40 minutes of you musing at a pier. Like,
Do you have the pen in your mouth as you type in design notes?
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the pen's just there as a prop. I use a computer, obviously.
And then you can get partway through and be like, no.
Wad it all up, and then there's a shot while I wad up the paper, and then a cut shot to the trash can, and the paper landing in the trash can with 40 other wadded up pieces. Of paper.
Right, yeah. And then we go back to the clock, and the clock like spins around, and it's like, look how hard Tyler's like ostensibly working.
Yeah.
Speaking of coffee shops, I have another question. From Lexos1222, what made you choose the smuggler, Chris? Or was it even your choice?
Yeah, it was my choice. Because I think it's a cool design. I always love the high tech with the low tech all over it. It was my favorite thing about the original Star Wars, which they completely got rid of in the new ones because everything was all like brand new. But I love the dirty, ragged like cloak draped over the sort of high tech bodysuit.
Mhm.
Just something
Hell
about
yeah.
that like synergy is kind of cool. Can't believe I used synergy. I apologize. But yeah, that was something that attracted me too.
The real answer is he saw the cloak and thought of Batman, and then immediately went to try.
Hey, do the characters talk? Like, with voices? Do you guys have voice acting?
We don't have voice acting. We immediately discarded that as an idea right away. We were going to have male and female characters, and they're going to be interchangeable.
Right.
And we were like, there will be some voiceover in the games. Right now, we've got coffee machines that talk to you, courtesy of our animator Jason.
Nice.
There'll be lots of cool stuff like that, but your characters will actually they won't have any VO.
Right.
We do want the characters to talk to each other, but in text probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes sense. You need a crazy budget for that.
Starcrawlers 2, full VO.
Fuck yeah.
It's all crowdsourced.
Tom Cruise, Elizabeth Banks.
Exactly.
Well, actually, we've been talking about different ways that we can make cool retro games that go past pixel art. So we're thinking about doing a full motion video game next.
Nice.
So maybe those actors can come on board for that too. And,
They'll have to audition though. Like,
Yeah, they will.
yeah.
We also wanted to maybe down-res the video quite a bit to start making it look like pixels, because then we feel like we'd hit the largest market possible.
Yeah, you know what you should do is actually hand paint everything like you are, so it's crazy rendered high res, and then have a shader that compresses it down to pixel art.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea.
As long as Mark Hamill's in it, then we're good.
And Michael Ironside.
And
was
Johnny
he-
Cage.
Was he in some of the original?
He's the bad guy in every movie from the 80s.
Yeah, I was just thinking back to
Wing Commander.
Wing Commander
Yeah.
3
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. Michael Ironside as Ham Tyler in the original V. Still very good.
I watched the reboot of V for about 32 minutes.
It was really bad.
That's all I'm going to say about it. Cool. Well, yeah, I'm going to probably keep working on this. I want to do some kind of like a cold light coming from over here somewhere.
Perhaps a blue light?
Perhaps some sort of a cyan futuristic light from the future. And then, catch a little bit of this action here.
Oh, cool.
Oh, I gotta give a shout out really quick.
Shoutouts.
I'm being prodded. Gallows had mentioned the haiku module. So one of our backers, Dean Thrasher, when we were voting in classes, because we actually voted in the last 4 classes in order that the the backers wanted to see him in the game, was a champion for the prototype, which is sort of this insane robot character we've got going on. And at some point, someone mentioned, can he recite haikus? So there's actually going to be a thing in the game called the Thrasher Haiku module for your prototype. And when he performs certain actions, he'll then recite an inspiring haiku afterwards, such as when he kills somebody or puts up a shield or something like that. He'll recite a haiku. And we mentioned that to the backers. We were like, oh, give us your ideas for haikus. And I think there's a page on starcrawlers.com that's up to 8 or something now.
Wow. That's
6,
so awesome.
and it's just full of these really awesome haikus that are all about Starcrawlers.
That's great.
Yeah.
One of the interviews we did, the guy asked me to finish with a haiku, and it totally messed me up. I just ripped through the interview, I typed it all up, no problem, and then I literally took an hour trying to figure out what to write for a haiku.
That's why you asked me about haikus.
I did. Alright, so yeah, this is kind of the general direction. I'm going to go with it, I think.
That's sweet.
Have
It looks
coming
great.
out of the black. So yeah, all the Darkest Dungeon art is they're always coming out of the black, and it's really hard to see everything, and blah blah blah. So I'm trying to bring that to Starcrawlers. And I haven't drawn a realistic human being in so long. It's kind of tripping me up. I have to go back to life drawing. I've been drawing these little squat 4-fingered freaks for like a
Four
year.
finger.
Wait, let's get a finger count on this one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, we're at 3.
Oh yeah, you know what I mean.
Do I have to add 25%
There,
more?
there,
finger
look.
budget?
We're good. We're legit on finger count. She's got her trigger finger up here. I'll even throw a rim light on the trigger finger. Zing.
Kapow.
That looks awesome, dude.
Cool. Well, it's a
So-
cool class. High-tech Batgirl meets Boondock Saints meets Blade Runner.
People also are very reminded of the Hunter class from Destiny, an upcoming video game.
Oh, cool. Alright, so I think what we'll do is I'm just going to stop streaming and then Asa's going to start. So there'll be two videos. So there's going to be a break, but we'll be back in about, I don't know, just a few clicks of a mouse.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Okay?
So don't panic. It'll.
Don't panic.
start.
Just try and stay calm.
Don't panic, just subscribe.